single strand of hair. Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Alicia, and I'm the direct co-founder here at EAG Innovation. Today, we have another interview session, and we have Lenita Reeves, who is here to talk about her experience with being a survivor of rape and also her journey as a pastor as well. So, Lenita, I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be with you. I just love what you're doing
Thank you.
with your company and how you're, trying to help people and, sharing your gifts with the world. I think it's so great what you're doing. And obviously, you're not doing it for financial gain. You're doing it because you have compassion for people and you feel driven to do it. I am, as you said, I'm Lenita Reeves, and I am a rape survivor. I'm also a pastor, and I'm also a trained counselor, and I have something that I do call the Purposeful Institute, where I help people to discover, hone, and walk in their calling and their assignment despite trauma, despite pain. And I like to encourage people to turn their pain into a platform, because what we go through, we never go through only for ourselves. It can always help someone else that is experiencing the same kind of trial or the same kind of challenge. So that's a little bit about what I do.
I think using lived experience as evidence is valuable and important. And I think sometimes when I talk to folks and they're wanting to do what you do, the big words that comes up is, I don't know how to break through.
Hmm.
I've been through this trauma and I can't break through the pain. What
Hmm.
would you say was your journey in breaking through some of that pain?
It was a journey, and I'm glad that you used that word, because it was exactly that. And I think sometimes as survivors, even if you've not been sexually assaulted, but if you've experienced any kind of deep betrayal or pain, or been broken, or even not even sexually abused, but maybe physically abused or battered by someone who's supposed to love you, it is just that, it's a journey. And a lot of times when for me, I sat in church for years and nobody was talking about what was impacting me, my deepest pain. Nobody was addressing it. And I purpose to be outspoken as a leader in the church about being a survivor, because anytime I heard it, it was from a male dominated perspective. And it was like, okay, just hurry up and forgive, like just get over it. And I was like, I don't think it works that way.
No.
And I found out that, forgiveness is a process, and breaking through, I would say to that person that's having trouble breaking through, is that forgiveness is, first of all, is a process. It's a journey. It's not overnight. Nobody should be beating you over the head, to just hurry up and forgive. Now, you do want to forgive. I think
Mhm.
ultimately the goal is to forgive, but I think that we have to understand that, first of all, that's a process. We have to understand the value for us, the benefit to our own mental health, our own emotional health, that comes from forgiving, and allow ourselves to do what I call decide to forgive over and over. And so you may wake up one day and you say, okay, I'm going to let this go. I'm ready to move forward. And then something triggers you. You smell something, you see something, you read something, or you hear something on the radio and it triggers you. What you have to do is not get frustrated with yourself, but you have to make that decision to forgive over and over again. And what I have found is that if you will commit to deciding to forgive over and over again, a lot of times people get frustrated because their emotions are not where that decision is. Our emotions may be here, high, boiling anger, and a decision is down here, saying, okay, I know it's right to forgive. I know that it's right to forgive in my mind, but I want to beat somebody over the head. And that's okay. I think that's okay. I think we don't allow people to verbalize that, to feel that, to sit with that, and be okay with that.
Yeah.
But if you have been violated, then you're going to have some inconsistencies in what you think in your mind and what you feel in your emotions. And part of the process is being okay with that and knowing that that's normal. when you
Yeah.
have been violated in such a way. So I think that, to break through, keep making the decision. Don't get frustrated when you see that your emotions have not caught up with your decision, but allow yourself time for those two things to come into alignment.
Yeah, I think it's so important what you were saying about forgiveness and choosing to forgive, because to me, I see forgiveness as an act of acceptance. And that
Hmm.
doesn't mean we're condoning what the person did or what
Absolutely.
situation what happened that happened to us. Forgiveness is more of a way of being. And I think what usually gets in the way of forgiveness is anger.
Yes.
And I'm wondering how you made it through without anger changing your personality in a way that inhibited you from continuing your journey as a pastor, from continuing your journey as a counselor, because
Hmm.
most folks wouldn't particularly tend to those environments when they've been violated and
Absolutely.
had been through these experiences.
Absolutely. Well, I was angry for a very long time. That's not to say that I wasn't angry. I didn't deal with anger.
Mhm.
If for some reason, I recognized that it was changing me, and I didn't like who I was becoming. I remained angry for years. I had an experience for years where I was just sitting down by myself, and the words just came out of my mouth. I'm angry, and I've been angry for years. I have become very sarcastic, very cold, a person that would want to, break you down before you had a chance to break me down. And so it changed the way I approached people. I was very terse, and I recognized that that wasn't making me happy. I was still going home and feeling awful. And if we want to get a different result, we have to do something different. And I think part of the journey is recognizing how being violated is impacting you, right? I didn't know how to assess that. I didn't know how to break that down. After you're violated, there's a package of things that come at you. It's not just one thing,
Yep.
right? I mean, there's shame, right? There's anger, there's guilt, there's blame, there's all of the feelings of rejection, right? It's not just one thing. So it's like all these things are bombarding you. And so at the time, you may not be able to unravel or separate the emotions that you're feeling. It may all feel like anger
Yeah.
when it actually there's shame, and there's also rejection, and there's also guilt, and there's also blame, and then there's anger. But I think that it's like it's like the twining of a rope. If we can unravel it, or the peeling back of the layers of an onion, it's not just one thing. And so I think also for me, part of my journey was really figuring out and distinguishing all of those things from the other, right?
Hmm.
And so I was angry, and I realized that it was changing me, and I realized it was impacting my relationships, my ability to relate. And at a certain point, I just said, I don't want to be alone because I'm so angry. I don't want to be by myself. That's not healthy. But I was pushing people away. I was not, engaging in healthy relationships because I didn't trust anybody. And
Yeah.
so at a certain point, I said, okay, well, I got to do the work. If I don't want to be by myself and be angry and bitter and alone, then I've got to do some work, and I've got to figure out what's really going on with me.
Yeah.
So it's a decision. It was a decision, and again, my emotions didn't catch up with me. It wasn't healthy. I knew that if I continued down that path, I was going to turn into something that I was never designed to be.
Yeah.
And so I began to be intentional about recognizing patterns, recognizing my reactions, be intentional about making decisions to let things go, be intentional about making decisions to forgive, be intentional about making decisions to step back and meditate. And when I
Hmm.
say meditate, I don't mean just connect with emptiness. When I say step back and meditate, I mean to ponder my behavior, my reactions, what triggered them. Why was I angry? I learned something that sometimes when we get angry, we don't step back and say, okay, why am I angry right now? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's really making me angry right now? Is it really, this person behind the register that's making me angry, or is it a pattern uh, of the way I've been made to feel in the past that, her rudeness is triggering? What's the real reason? Right? Because sometimes when we've been abused, and
Yeah.
people may be rude or terse, even at a okay, let's just say, for example, even at a fast food restaurant, if the person behind the register is rude and we feel like we're not being treated properly, then that could trigger feelings of rejection. Something as simple as that we haven't dealt with. Like,
Yeah.
why are you being rude to me? Like, you've been nice to everybody else in this restaurant. Why are you being rude to me?
Mm-hmm.
But really, what is it? It's something from the past that has wounded, created a wound of rejection, that we interpret their rudeness as, a singling out of us, when in
Mm-hmm.
fact they've just had a bad day. They've just
Yeah.
had a bad day. And we happen to be the person that encountered their reaction to the bad day. But, because of the wounds of rejection, we react to it as an attack. And all of those
Mm-hmm.
things we don't recognize if we don't step back and ask the question, why am I really angry? You
That's a
know?
good question for everyone who's watching to think about if they're feeling anger right now and whether it's about a traumatic situation or whether it was just someone cut them off in traffic
Mm,
or they had a fight with their spouse or a family member, a friend. All of these things are producing anger, and anger is such an overwhelming emotion, and of course, it's tied to trauma and abuse. And I'm wondering how you broke through with it. As I'm talking to you, it no longer seems as though you're identifying with the trauma, that it's not your identity. And for
mhm.
folks who are feeling like it's their identity, I'm wondering what suggestions and what tips you could give them to support them right now.
Yeah, I think, for me, I had to come to grips that I didn't do anything wrong. I there's sometimes there's a tendency to blame yourself, right?
Yeah.
If I hadn't been with that particular guy or that particular person, if I hadn't put myself in that situation, if I wasn't alone, or even if I hadn't been drinking, there's lots of things that go through a person's mind when they've been assaulted. But we have to separate ourselves from the wickedly influenced actions that someone else perpetrated. And I had to separate. I had to understand that that's not there's nothing that I could have done to warrant that or to deserve that. And my perpetrator had a real problem, and he had real issues. And I really had to come to the point to realize that there's no space for blame, right? There's no space for blame. And then also, I understood that sometimes, what can happen is that the trauma can cripple greatness, for lack of a better phrase. I personally believe there's greatness inside of every person.
I do
And I
too.
believe, yeah, I believe that. I strongly believe that there's greatness inside of everyone. And I believe that sometimes these things, the outcome is that the greatness is traumatized, not just the person, right? But the greatness inside them is also traumatized because they are the vessel that carries the greatness. And so you have to, I encourage everybody to understand that there's greatness inside of you despite your past, despite your pain, despite your trauma, despite what has happened to you. And we have so many examples of that, even with the great people that we look up to, just in our nation. So many of them have overcome sexual assault and trauma. I mean, there's, actresses and great entertainers and female politicians. And I mean, just great people have gone on, to do great things despite being sexually assaulted. And
Yep.
I use those examples to let people know that, uh, your greatness doesn't have to be, destroyed because of your pain. You can turn that pain into a platform to help others. And so, obviously, who you are. Your greatness is not your trauma. Your trauma is an event,
Mhm.
but your greatness is in you, a person,
Yeah. And when
right? And yeah, I'm sorry.
that's
I could
okay.
talk all day. I'm
No,
sorry. You have to stop
you've
me.
gotten so many great examples in there, and it would be remiss if folks didn't hear about your greatness and how you've taken your pain to your platform and what exactly your platform is these days. Because I think
Yeah.
you being here right now is such an example that others can hear just out loud from your mouth to their ears.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm encouraging people through what I call the Purposeful Institute. I have a course that I do that includes coaching from me, which is called Identity, Pain, and Purpose. And we go through some of the issues that happen. The separation attachment, the anxiety, the fearful attachment that can result from being abused, and we work through that, and we try to reconnect to those pieces of our identity that we avoid because the pain is so great. And then we try to help people to reconnect to who they really are, beyond the pain, beyond the event. We try to help people reconnect to who they really are and reattach and build the confidence to start forming the relationships that are necessary, because purpose is never in a vacuum. Our purpose, our assignment in the earth is always connected to other people. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to coach. I'm having the course coaching and just reaching out, speaking, and trying to empower people. And the other thing that I would say is that for anybody who wants to break through is to surround yourself with people that are going to support you and believe in the greatness in you despite what you've been through. You need one or two people that you can be really transparent with, and that will hold you accountable to stay on your healing journey and to move towards that greatness. I think that's essential for everybody.
I think you've given us so many tips on empowerment and forgiveness, and just now on purpose, and even how we can maintain the care for ourselves through our support networks and relying on our own ability to accept and our own
Yeah,
belief in our purpose. All these, I'm wondering, people are looking for more tips and or just want to reach out to you, want to work with you. Where can they find you?
absolutely. So they can find me at purposehouse.net, purpose.net. That's my website, purposehouse.net. And they'll find all of what I'm doing right there at that website. They can email me at purposehouseinternational@gmail.com, or they can call at 410-497-7446.
Amazing. We will put all of that information in the description below, so folks who are looking for more resources and support, and to even find out about all the incredible work that you're doing, they're able to connect. I appreciate you sharing so much about taking pain to platform. I know it resonates with me in a kindred way of our shared experiences,
Yes,
and I really
yes.
appreciate you coming on today. For folks who are watching and you're looking for more interviews, we do release interviews every Saturday and Tuesday, so don't forget to like and subscribe, because we'll be back with more amazing folks just like Lenita. Thank you so much, Lenita, again.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate all that you do.